Hi everyone. Let's just start today's call. We plan to spend the first Friday of the spring just to see how everyone's doing so far this week. Just get some feedback from you guys, how things going, so we can just get some just so that we can discuss how we can do better for the next week. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. We have quite a few tickets there, and 2 of them are already in the COVID review status, and 3 of them are work in progress. I just want to ask about those 3 tickets in progress. Do you guys have any questions or anything that we can quickly comment before we go and look at the open ticket? So I think Twitter has the 258 and Lucas has 51 and Simon has 249. Do you guys?
Ada, no, the only questions I had was the ones that I raised in the Scrum yesterday about how we want to go about the workflow and stuff. And I think yesterday we decided that we're going to prompt the user in case he's unable to log in. We prompt the user and we say that, did you recently reset or change your password? If he says yes, then we kind of do online authentication. Otherwise, if it's just a matter of the person. Oh, one sec. I think I have to find a different room. There are just too many people here. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
So yeah, if it's just a case of someone entering the password incorrectly, and then they don't do online authentication, they just choose offline authentication, and then you check against the value stored on the device. Is that how we want to do it? Okay.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. But I would like to hear from other members if they it's about. Let me just open the ticket so everyone can see it. 258.
Could I just ask, the developers on the call? It seems like this issue is not the first issue that we're not the first people dealing with this issue. There must be kind of some well-accepted way of doing it. Is that a correct presumption?
From Martin, what I understand is because we have the option of offline and online authentication in mUzima, it brings in a situation that's not very common. So I know what you're saying. This is probably a best practice because every website which has a login or an authentication system will have a forgot password, and then you reset your password, and then you log in, and you're forced to log in. You get logged out after you change your password, and then you're forced to log in again with the new password. But that's not the case here in mUzima. Maybe wrong. That's what my understanding is. Win, do you agree?
Yeah. Could I just maybe ask a clarifying question? So my sense of the current workflow, and I could be wrong, is the first time you log in, you have to be authenticated centrally, okay? And then subsequently, you actually just do local authentication because you've stored the key locally, and that's what you use for authentication. And then obviously, if you can't authenticate locally because you've forgotten your password or something, then you really, in my mind, shouldn't be able to even proceed to do more things. You have to get to a place where you can get in centrally and authenticate from there. That's my thought. I don't know is that the current workflow? Or is my workflow completely crazy too?
I think the authentication is more to the local. So the challenge right now is that because the key is stored in the local device, and then the user went to reset the password in the server side. So things, if you log in with the old password locally without connecting to the internet, it's fine. But then if not, it will become a problem because you you require to use the new set of password. I think that's the confusion, and it become more common right now because more and more our users, they forgot their password, and then they ask Central, to reset the password from the server side, and so we need have like a mechanism how we can authenticate with the new password instead using the old password to log in.
I think the only way they can do it is if they are connected. So I think I will try to write down the workflow, and then so the first time user logged in, then they need to be so they need to do authentication using their current password, and then the current password will be stored locally, and then if on the subsequent login, they will just be authenticated locally. So I think so in the current code, what happened is on the first try, the authentication process in the code is the system will try to find the user record in locally, and then if the user is not exists locally, it will try to authenticate using the central servers. If the user and password doesn't match in central server, user will not be able to get in. And then if the user and password can be used to authenticate centrally, the user record will be kept in the device with hash password. So now you have the user record locally with the hash password, and then user can proceed to use the application. And then you'll do whatever you want inside the application. On the subsequent call, because the flow is going to be the same, system will try to find the user record, and then the system now can find the user record. It will try to do the same hashing process for the password entered, and try to match this hash password and then the user record locally. If it's matched, then it will allow you to get into the application. Now, on the case where user changed their password centrally, the application will be able to find the user record locally, but the password will not be the same because, for example, the initial password is A, and now they change it in central to B, the password. Locally, the record will exist, but the password will not be the same. So in this case, I think we should fall back to try to do central authentication again to see if the username and password is actually updated in central server. So this is the fallback that I talked about yesterday.
So Win, could I just clarify that last scenario? So users change their password centrally. They still have the old password on the local server, right? Sorry, on the phone, and they are continuing to complete data on the local phone. So next time they get connected, suppose they are not connected for a while. Next time they get connected, what will happen is, they won't even be able to authenticate on the central side, right?
Yes, they won't be able to send. They won't be able to upload the data using their old password.
Okay. So what's your suggested solution? That every time you try to submit, you see if the password was changed centrally before they continue?
No, I think the user should, when they authenticate, the user should try to, the application need to try to authenticate centrally if the record for that user is already exists in the device, but the password doesn't match. if the
Yeah.
if the user tried to log in with different password and it failed locally and also failed on central server, then that means the password is incorrect.
So it almost becomes like a two-step authentication.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, the other way around to do that is probably just always try to authenticate with central server first, and then, but it will require so on the first, instead of trying to find the user record first, we can try to authenticate to central server first, and then if it fails because of no internet connection or the username and password doesn't match, then we fall back to the local authentication. Then if both fails, then we display username and password is incorrect. What do you guys think?
So first, authenticate the central server with internet connection. If that is not available, it will authenticate locally. Is what you mean, Win?
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm very slow, very slow as always. So when I log into my device, you're saying I should by default try to authenticate to the central server before I authenticate locally?
Yeah, everything is behind the scene. You don't actually see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So behind the scene, the application will try to authenticate with central server. Then, if it fails, either because there is no connection or
So can we do like kind of like a thing? Like if internet is available, authenticate through with the central server, and then if internet is not available, authenticate through local. And then if through the local authentication is wrong, and then reprompts that message whether you recently reset your password and things like that. If yes, and then remind them that, hey, please turn on your internet connection in order to get your new password, work with your device, something like that. Is it the correct workflow?
Yeah, we can check the internet before.
I'm still confused because how much time are you gonna give them for central authentication? It just seems to, potentially slow things down. If every time I have to log in and do central authentication, or at least give it 5 seconds to confirm that I can connect there, and then switch to local, isn't that just adding a lot of extra time that you might not need in most of the cases? Or am I missing something completely?
Yes, I think that's the flip side of it. It could slow you down because you need to authenticate with central server first.
Could we do an easier version? Is just say, if you want to change password in mUzima for now, I know you guys will disagree with me, just do it from the phone and have connectivity.
Yeah, I think that's the other way to do it, I guess. You can have like a separate screen where you can do the actual updating local password. I don't know if that's what you mean, Chief.
Say that, yeah. Savai was telling me, well, the person can't log into mUzima in the first place, but even if you can't log into, you don't need to log into mUzima to change your password, right? And so you just say forgot password, and maybe we have a couple of questions for them to confirm, and then basically that's what gets transmitted to the central server. If that works,
Yeah.
they get, hey, please, put in your new password.
Yeah, I think, yeah, have like similar to how most website, I guess, do it. You go to the forget password page, I guess.
So I have a question here. Suppose someone's forgotten their password. You usually click on the reset password link and you get an email sent to your registered email ID or whatever it is. And then you click on that link, which takes you to a new page where you enter your password and then you confirm it and then you say save. Then you usually get logged out of the system or you're redirected to the login page again. But in mUzima, since it's an app, how are we going to, like, we have to have an email ID or something where we send that link to.
And what you're saying is that link should not be, like, you can't just have them fill the stuff within the app, because well, so I think for mUzima, what we'll need to do is, instead of kind of doing the link thing, is maybe using some other things, like let's say date of birth, and then somebody else can. Anyway, you're the more technical guys. I'll shut up.
Yeah, the problem with our users, we don't really have that much demographic about them, except their names and username and password. That's pretty much what we have in the server side.
So sending the link to your email is more of a security thing to make sure that someone's just not pretending to be you and trying to change your password on you when you don't know. So in this case, can we, like, let's say the phone is in someone's hand and they misuse it and to change the password. So Martin, are you suggesting that instead of sending a link to your email, you just ask a couple of questions to confirm that this user is really authentic and he really does want to change the password before we actually allow him to?
But I think we're not actually changing the password. We're not changing the user password. The user's password is already changed in the central server.
Oh, okay. Now I'm confused because I thought that instead of having the whole someone changing it for you on the central system and having this difference in the two passwords, the one which is old, which is on the device, and the new one which is updated on the server, we just allow the users themselves to change it.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
incorrect?
Shrita, that's what I was suggesting. I think I'd like to get away from having somebody doing things on the central server, unless it's the same individual who's forgotten their password. So like we want to get away from where you have to call an administrator. Administrator gives you a temporary password and then you have to change it. That gets clumsy. It's just not scalable. So I'd say figuring out a way where we can get the individual to actually change the password by themselves would actually make a lot more sense and is a lot more scalable from an application standpoint. And in this case, it seems to me like taking a security question approach makes just a little bit more sense, given that we'd want them to answer those questions on the app. So basically, it's like, forgot password, and then, please answer your you ping the server, the security questions come up, maybe they fill them in, and then we see if they authenticate on the server. Wow.
So on OpenMRS right now, the way I can change my password is on the login page, they have a link which says forgot password. And then when I click on it, it takes me to a new page where it says, please answer the secret question. And then if your answer matches what's stored in the database, they prompt you to enter a new password, confirm it, and then save it. So we could have something similar on the app also. But again, Martin, as you pointed out, this is probably it's a very basic thing which most apps will usually have. So maybe there's already a best practice on how to do it on mobile apps. It may be slightly different from the way the websites or web apps do it. So I think we should just take a look at how all the other apps or the more user-friendly ones are doing this part of the authentication. And the second option is we can use push notifications, but I think push notifications are not something that we're already using in mUzima, so it'll be it won't be a simple change. So using a push notification, we actually but this goes hand in hand with the older model, with the way it is today, where there's a central administrator who changes the password for you and then notifies that person by sending a push notification to your phone saying that, hey, your password got changed. Please use your new password the next time you want to log in. But for this, we'll have a little more, we'll need to know the device. We have to keep track of the device and which device and which user changed his password, and there's going to it's a lot more work if we decide to use push notifications. So I think right now, after hearing all the suggestions, I think we should also take a look at how everyone else is doing it before we decide what's the best way to do it for mUzima.
Either win, the technical people survive because
Yeah, the thing is,
so
even OpenMRS doesn't have the.
it doesn't capture email. Yeah.
They don't. OpenMRS doesn't have the workflow to change the password currently.
Yeah, I
It's
just
more
tried
like
it
on
out
the.
yesterday. It seems to be the
Yeah, it's
secret
more like
question.
on.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'll just.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, yeah, and the problem with our MPAP implementation, none of our users have secret question and answer stored. Because it's created centrally by system administration team, so they just simply just put their names, gender and username and roles. That's it, and then boom, no one set up the secret question and answer.
Well, so it would seem to me that when somebody logs in mUzima the first time, when they're changing the initial ID, they should be also putting in their secret question at the time. Now, how we're going to do it retrospectively, I am not sure, but no, that's how I would do it myself. Is the initial login where you're changing your password, we also ask you to put in your secret question. That's how it always works with other applications. Does that make sense?
Yeah, prospectively, I think it was. Retrospectively, it would be challenging, yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have too many users now, so retrospectively, we could actually just do it manually, okay? Where we have them have their secret questions done, and then moving forward, people can add it. So we'll retrospectively do it on the central server in terms of adding the secret question and answer, but moving forward, the first-time user should be able to add it in from mUzima side. What do other people think?
I'm sorry, I really don't understand how what exactly happens. So usually when let's say I'm creating a new provider, I go and I add that person's detail and I create a new user on the central server. And I think right now it's only the administrator who will be able to choose what the secret question is. Or can I change it myself?
You can only change it yourself when you log into the system, and if not, it will be the central administrator when it first created.
Okay.
So yeah. So let's go ahead.
So the first time around, it's the administrator who creates the secret question and answer for you. And if you forgot, and once you've logged in, you can go change it to whatever you want.
I'm sorry, I put you on mute.
Is that correct?
I would actually,
No,
yeah, I would actually
you need to log
propose,
in first.
Okay.
yeah, I would actually propose for mUzima, what the administrator should do is just provide you with the initial password which you change. The secret question should be done by you on the device because it's really a secret question, right? An answer, okay? So if you can do it in the first time and then it populates the right tables in OpenMRS, then that's fine. The only time we'll get an administrator to do the secret question for somebody in mUzima at least is for people who already have mUzima passwords. Am I making sense?
Actually, Martin, I understand what you mean. So when the first time log into mUzima, and they, in the wizard part, I think maybe we should include asking them to set up secret question and answer before they finish the whole thing.
Exactly.
And then another option is that for the current user, for them to retrospectively to update the secret question and answer, it would be better we add an option under the setting and remind them, force them to update over there instead of going through all these, several hundreds of users that having the central admin to do it. Because I think it would be better for us to have the option under the setting that sometimes they I don't like my secret question and answers, and then I want to change another set or something like that.
I like it.
Yeah. So I have a question. What happens if someone forgets their secret question and answer?
I think like if someone forget the password and forget the secret question and answer, it will go back to the usual workflow that go back to the admin.
Yeah,
Central
exactly.
admin to do something.
Yeah.
But then the problem is that's the, I don't know how would the central admin be able to see the secret question and answer on each user profile, or this is like encrypted or something. I don't know.
No, I
if
was
they
able
cannot
to.
see it, you can see it.
Yeah, I logged in as
Okay.
an admin and I was able to change and modify it. But the only weird behavior I saw is once someone has tried to once someone has actually clicked on the forgot password. Let's say my username is Shweta and the secret question is what is your name, and the answer is Shweta, and the admin has created this for me, and I'm trying to log in and I click on the forgot password link.
Can you hear us?
Okay, and are you guys there? So it seems like something wrong with this forgot password thing too here.
In OpenMRS?
Yeah. I never used it because my password stayed the same the whole time. So
That's the other issue.
and I never even tested it because
Yeah.
allergies.
The other thing is we need to check the REST call needed to update the password and get all this secret question information.
Yeah, true.
So can we all agree? Oh, maybe we need to have to read it back. I think her connection got dropped. I think we just want to summarize what we decide to do. We all agree? Do we all agree that we should take advantage of the secret question and answer, and then force it as part of the initial wizard setup, and also to add it as the option under the settings, and then add another page of forgot password on the app side. Is it the 3 items that we need to consider? Are you guys there?
Yeah. It makes sense to me. The question I have for you, for the team is, should we give them still an option of doing email? That way, if they, don't remember the secret question and password, you say, well, please, do we have emails associated with accounts in OpenMRS?
No.
No. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, if they've forgotten the secret question, then they just go to the central guys. Okay.
But I think we can suggest them to add it or something like that later on, but not now. Yeah.
Yeah, because remember, you're building an application for the larger audience beyond just AMPAT. Okay. And so, if you're doing it that way, you might want to just think of those other things as you kind of develop it. And my sense is, if it doesn't take too much work to incorporate that, then just doing it at this stage would make sense. And then for people at AMPAT, we'll basically tell them that, or there isn't an option to update the email, to update through email. Am I making sense?
Yeah. So consider to collect user email, and then I think you guys can go ahead. I'm going to mute myself. I'm just talking to myself. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So, Win, Shweta, Vikas, what do you guys think of that approach?
Hey, sorry, I got dropped off for like some time in between. So is it possible to just do a quick recap of what we decided to do?
We'll have the change password page incorporated in, and adding the update your secret question in the wizard. Yep, Ada, type it in the chat, Sita.
So, Srita, I think we need to break down this ticket into 3 subtasks, I guess. So I'll update it today, and then break it down into 3 subtasks.
Sure. So I didn't really understand about adding email data collection on the server side. Are we forcing people to provide their email IDs?
So I think Martin suggests that he wants to make it to be more generic, that is more like flexible and adaptable for other implementation rather than just empath. So common practice would usually would send the reset password link to your email. Since on the OpenMRS side that it doesn't have an option or a field to ask users information, users email. So he just asked us maybe something nice to have, or it's something nice to have, but then he wants us to evaluate how much work it is. So it be included in the this sprint, or maybe it's something that we should include later on.
Yeah.
So it's not like a must for this ticket. We just want to evaluate.
If OpenMRS doesn't have a provision to collect emails, then I don't think we should worry about it too much at this point, except telling OpenMRS, raising a ticket in OpenMRS to say that, to include email change as part of the password reset. And then once they do that, we can add it to our
We
site.
can come back and visit, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is ideal,
Is that okay?
but I think we should provide a workaround for the current users who are stuck.
Yeah, I think this is nice to have. We can just put the tickets whenever it's ready, and then we can visit this.
Yeah. Okay. So we stick with secret question, and that's it.
Right. So this Jira was originally opened for to help users who have forgotten their password and have requested for a central admin to change their password, and they know what the changed password is, but they will be unable to log in because of the way the workflow is today. We store the details onto the device, and we'll be trying to match against the old password, which will not match. So in that case, if you're unable to log in with your new updated password, then you go to the answer your secret question and secret answer page, and you plug in your new password and you should authenticate online. Is that how it's going to work?
No, Shweta, we're changing actually the workflow completely, where you shouldn't be changing your password from the central server moving forward. Okay, and so and the only time it will be changing the central server is when the user has actually called the person because they forgot the password, they forgot the secret question, and they had to call the central person to change the password and the secret question, and they're in communication, in which case they need to test things before they get off the phone. So now on the ticket is, I'm unable to change my password. I have provision to change my password on the device through my secret question, and then that gets sent to the central server.
Right. But won't we be back in the same situation as it is today when the central person changes the password for you and the device still has the old password? We'll still be unable to log in. So at some point, we still have to do the online authentication. It's just that we don't know when. When do we do online authentication?
Well, in this case, if you're changing your password on your device, you have to be online. So it has to authenticate online. Am I missing something? And if you have to call someone to change your password, then you are in touch with them at that time. So it's not even, it's the way I'd call somebody within my university and they'll tell me, oh, this is your new temporary password, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they give you the temporary password and then you can change it from there.
Right. Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm talking too much. I could be confusing you guys more. Okay. So basically, if you've forgotten your secret question, then the next screen is a message says, please call central administration. And then we say, please enter temporary password. Okay. Once that temporary password appears, which will be the same as what they've given you, then you can change to your new password. Is that okay?
So can I ask a question, because I really don't understand the authentication thing? So let's say just for this ticket's purpose, I just want to clarify, just make sure that I understand correctly. So the user have the password reset in centrally, and then on the device, if the user use the new reset password with online with internet available, would this user still be able to log into the application?
No, because the record exists and the matching is against the old record.
Yeah, I think that is what Shrita's question was, Martin.
Yeah,
that's
for the
what I want to know too. I mean, the workflow will be working, but what do we do with the current situation? The new workflow will be good for future use, but there is some device that already have this situation.
Yeah, they get stuck.
Oh, I see.
Because they cannot remember the old password and they cannot use the new password to authenticate to log into the device, the application to continue the work or whatever. And there's some data there.
Well, in that situation, they have to call central. Like, I mean, there's no way around it. Or I wouldn't do it any other way.
No, Martin, even they call central to reset the password, they cannot use the new password to log in successfully.
Yeah. So I think just doing temporary password. Can you have like a form type of thing on the device side for temporary password? No. Like you don't want to change anything on the mobile device in the interim, because in my mind what I'd do is I'd say just add the temporary password feature on the mobile side. Am I making sense?
Yeah. How about if we do it this way? So the new workflow will allow user to change their password, initiate the change password from the device, and then the other workflow we need to do is when a user forget their password and they already request the change to central, and then for the first workflow, I mean, if you forget your password, you go through the same process that we talked about earlier. You go to the form, and then you answer your secret question, and then you can start initiating a call to the central to update your server. Send your new password just the way how we usually do change password in most application. Like, oh, you need to answer this secret question, and then if you pass that one, you can send your new password and then confirm password, and your password will be updated. In the situation where user is forget their password and they already request the change to central, I still want to propose my approach earlier. If the local authentication is failed, then try to fall back to authenticate with the new password against central if internet is available. And then if the process is succeed, then update the user record locally with the new password.
Yeah. Well, so just a quick question. In the strictest sense, the admin really shouldn't know what your true password is at any time. So if we have people who've forgotten their passwords, the admin shouldn't be giving them their new passwords. They should be giving them a temporary password, right? Like that's just from a security standpoint, that's the way it should be. So what I'd say is, let's say under setting we do something like change a password using temporary ID or something. So you've spoken to the admin, they've been like, okay, I've created a password for you, okay? And basically they tell the person, go to settings or something, and there's a button option there for you to change password using temporary ID. You get that temporary ID, basically you enter that temporary ID which can authenticate to central. It gives you an option of entering now your new ID, and basically you can proceed from there. Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think I like this approach better.
So because the current problem was that users forget their password.
Yes.
They can't log into mUzima.
Yes.
So the password is changed on the server side. Now they can't use the new password to log in.
Yes.
So when we say using the temporary password, you go to settings. So shall we make that setting be accessible even without having to log in? Like on the initial page, somewhere you can click and go to temporary.
or even we could even have like a forgot password or change password using temporary thing just in the initial screen. I think it's a user interface thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't be able, I mean, you don't need to log in to do that. Okay, and the reason why actually this approach makes sense is because you're going to be using the same features in the newer approach too. So even as we work on this, you know, you're already kind of doing some work for the new approach.
Yeah, I agree.
Man, I should have been a developer. Just kidding.
Cool.
Does that make sense? Okay. Eda, you caught all that, right?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think we pretty much on the same page. Probably just a little bit back and forth a little bit just to clarify, like maybe tiny, like exactly what it is. But I'm going to create some three subtasks for 3 tickets for this, and then you guys can comment and make corrections. Since we spent a lot on this ticket, I just want to wrap this up, and so that we can have a few minutes for other tickets, if that's okay with you guys. Okay. So we have 2 tickets now actually put on hold from current sprint. Is 127 and 231, both account related to the provider. The reason is that in 1.9, not, you know, when they talk about provider, it doesn't mean that it's a provider role or clinician role that under the users. Actually, they have a new table called provider under the encounter domain in the data model. So it creates a lot of confusion for us what really it means by provider. It's also create for Vicus to work on these 2 tickets. And Win, do you want to talk about, like, add some kind of like more like query check to make sure that the user actually is the provider thing?
Yeah, I think for this one,
Yeah.
on the processor, we need to. So what the current processor does is try to find the user based on the identifier entered in the form data, and that if it exists, then it assumes that is the provider, because that's how it has been before in 1.8. But I think the additional check that we need to add in the form processor is making sure that if the user exists in the provider table, the encounter provider table, all the legacy user should have the record in the provider table, but new user added in 1.9, it could they could potentially not exist in the encounter provider table.
Correct.
Yeah, so we probably also need to fix the data first, and to make sure that the user, all the provider user exists in the encounter table first, and then also add the additional check in our processor. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I think another danger with I mean, I understand why OpenMC did it that way. They allow that you can add an encounter provider without a user account, without person account, without person record, for their own reasons. So for the implementation cases, that sometimes they might add some provider, you know, in the encounter provider table, but actually there's no person or user record exists in the system. I just want to point out that. And then it also, in the encounter provider table, it has the field called identifier. It's also is not required, and some of the encounter provider don't have the identifier. So when we update our current users into that encounter provider table, what exactly we need to put for the identifier. I think we also need to talk about that. So any other comments or questions on the provider table in .9?
Ada, so for downloading the provider list into the device locally, we need to use the encounter provider table, or we have two tables. One is the provider table and one is the encounter underscore provider table. So which table actually we need to do? We need to use to download the provider in local device.
Yeah. So now they use the encounter provider table. That's my understanding. And that's why I think on, retrospectively, what I propose to OpenRSI is that when we create a user, the same, at user management page, we need to have an option that to indicate whether this user is should be added to the encounter provider table or not. And then if take yes, and then so prospectively, our users who are supposed to be a provider would be added to the provider encounter provider table. And looking back retrospectively, we already mentioned that we need to do some data updating, in the database, so that we can move our users from our user table that and then update it in the provider encounter provider table. So we should use the encounter provider table. That's the answer.
Okay. So for this particular Jira, I can go ahead and I can implement by using encounter underscore provider table.
Yeah. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the other question is for just to make sure, like, not just table, but also which provider user ID we should use. It's unclear to me because when I look at the data sample, and it's unclear to me which to use for as provider ID when we talk about like which ID we should use for the provider. There's a few. It's like provider UUID. I think we can take advantage of that because that is required, and then there is for each entry. There's a field called identified. It's optional. So some are blank, some with different formats, and I really don't. It's not really clear how that is being used. So I think we need to download the provider UUID as well from the encounter provider table.
Okay, sure. Yep.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So sorry that we run a little bit late. I just want to go through the two new tickets, 260 and 261, so that we can assign points together. This is like this is a bug that we found. That's syncing form template delta to the device. So when I download like a form template A to the device, and then somehow in the server side, this form template A actually got deleted or make changes, and I still have this information stored in my device as like incomplete form data or complete form data, not sent back to the server. When I go to that tab, and then it would crash. I think as a user, I expect that I can sync the latest form template to my device, so that my device has all the latest form templates without all this crashing. And I was able to create this crash report, and the stat trace detail is captured here, and also is available through the equalizer. Any questions on this ticket before we? Okay, Wayne, do you want to do 1, 2, 3?
You can do 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so Achana, Wayne, Rita, Vikas, and Simon, we're going to say 1, 2, 3. You say how many points for this ticket? 1, 2, 3, go. Type. So maybe we should work on this ticket because it says 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like an attempt to invoke virtual method get name is it's just mean it's missing a method call. The method is not available on the form object. Maybe it's not including the correct mUzima API version. I would still say
so, okay, Simon, Rita, and because why is 5?
Yeah, I was just thinking it could be because of the wrong mUzima API being included in the APK. So that's why it was 2.
Mm-hmm. So Win, are you saying that it could just be an issue of the wrong version of the mUzima API code?
Yeah.
And that's what's causing it, not because of the form template issue?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So I guess we have to investigate. So yeah, if this is really, if this could be the issue, then I think yeah, I'm willing to bump it down.
Yeah, I can go up to 3, I guess.
Okay.
Okay, 3 there is. Okay, cool. And then one more.
Simon wants to say something about.
Okay, Simon, go ahead.
127.
127. Okay, this one.
Yeah, no, it was actually Martin. I just wanted to say, instead of having people go to setting to put it as default provider, just make it the default right from the outset, because most of the time if I've logged in, I'm going to be the default provider, and then just allow them to be able to change that field if need be. I think asking users to go to setting to set up default provider just is too much additional work for your standard user.
Yeah, I think this is like the option. So we can have it as the default as enable, but we want it to be an option because sometimes I might log in and then help Dr. So-and-so to fill out the form, but I'm not really the defaulted provider. So this is more like an option for that kind of situation.
Yes. So understood, but why not just have me as the default and allow me in that field to be able to change the field?
Yeah. Cool.
Versus having to go to creating a setting and things like that, which most of our users will actually just never get there. Am I missing something?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a lot less work too, right?
Okay. Cool. Okay, this is a really blocker for us. I think we really need to get this one done. From processor cannot process revised form data after being corrected through the error resolution UI. So as a data manager, after correcting the error from the form data and queuing for reprocessing, I expect the form data will be processed successfully so that related encounter and observation will be inserted to the database correctly. So what happened is that, so Win and I did some testing the other day, and with the new UI resolution, it worked perfectly, but then we found a bug in the form processor. So it keeps saying that when you look at here, the column message cannot be no, because it's no longer the message column actually to tell us what kind of error it is for the form data. Since all those error has been corrected, so it become no, and then it's blocking us for us to continue for processing the corrected form. That's the bug that we found the other day when doing testing. Actually yesterday. Any question on these tickets, because this is really high. This is high priority for us because if even the UI resolution worked perfectly, but with this bug, it's going to block us for rolling out implementing it. Any question or comment this one before assigning more?
So Ada, this form data is getting stuck on a queue after resolving all the errors?
It's stuck, yeah. So it gets stuck. So after we submit it for reprocessing, in the queue, it got stuck in the form data queue. It's not in the error queue. It's in the form data queue.
Okay, it's always there in a form data queue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we check the schedule task, and the schedule task run correctly. So and then it's still staying there.
Okay. Okay, now we'll fix this issue.
Okay. So you guys ready?
Okay.
What did you say?
I'm asking. So
yes?
This one applies. This one refers to the new resolution UI, right?
Yeah. So I was testing with the new error resolution UI,
Okay.
and then everything worked perfectly. Those 4 tickets worked perfectly. Everything worked as expected. So I was able to correct the error messages and validate, and then after there's no error, so I save it and I queue it. So after I queue it, so it will, the workflow is to move to the form data queue. And once the schedule task kick in for the form processor, it should be processed, right? But it's still staying there because of this error. Does it answer your question, Simon?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. So, are you guys ready for points? 1, 2, 3, type. So, Srita, why do you think it's 3 when a little bit more work? Okay. So 2 or 3? So 2? Okay, cool. Yeah. So this one is 2. Okay, so Srita, go ahead.
The only reason I thought it was a 3 is because when Vikas and I tested it out on both of our systems, we were able to actually put the requeue the error data after modifying and editing it, and we were able to get the scheduler to run and save the encounter. So I'm not sure. I think it could take time to understand why we are not able to. It could either be because some code was not checked in, and that's the reason why it's working fine on our machine and it's not working fine on yours. But we are not able to recreate.
Okay.
We haven't seen this happening on our systems, both of ours. So it may just be take time to actually triage why it's happening.
Yeah, so I tested in the mUzima test server, And so you can see what we did. Let me see, what is that? So we tested these three messages a couple days ago, and they're still there. So these are the three that we corrected in through the URL solution and then for reprocessing.
Ada, I have one question. After
Yes,
uploading
go
that
ahead.
mUzima processor,
Uh-huh.
you have restarted that scheduler again, or you're not
No,
restarted?
I did not. So the scheduler for the phone processor is supposed to run every 30 seconds in the test server setup.
Yes, yeah. So actually, what we were doing is actually we were each time when we install mUzima processor in our local OpenMRS, we are restarting the processor again. So can you try it one more time? Can you try to restart it?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So in below we have stop. So,
Okay. Okay. So 9 seconds.
yeah.
Okay, good. Let's just go back and see the form killed again. Maybe just give some time.
Okay, so there is some problem. Okay, Ada, we'll have a look on this one.
Okay. So do you guys want to be a 2 or 3 for this ticket?
Uh, I think Shweta, it looks like that column we have to remove from our code and from the data model. I think it's not a big change. What do you think, Shweta? Shweta, are you
Cool.
there? Okay, to edit
Yeah,
it.
she said okay too, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Shweta.
So awesome. So next Monday is our holiday, so we won't be able to have a call next Monday. I just want to ask you guys if we should have the call on Tuesday instead, so that it just sometimes helpful to talk instead of like through Scrum sometimes. So it's really up to you guys. Do you guys want to have a call on Tuesday, or you just want to proceed with Scrum on Tuesday? Simon, is that okay for you?
Yeah, let's do it on Tuesday.
Okay. Achana, is that okay? Okay, cool. Wayne?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I will try to get the log file and then probably attach it to the ticket.
Okay, cool. So from me, and do you guys have anything before we say bye?
No. So when I just had a quick quick comment about the pull requests that were being made against my local repository instead of the main branch. I think this is an issue that has kind of, I'm not sure what caused it, because I had originally forked it, and the same issue kind of happened even for all of the other repositories, and it has happened even for Vikas. I suspect, I think a couple of months back we went ahead and made some of the mUzima repositories, we changed them from private to public repositories. Do you remember we did that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're related, but I think at that point, it kind of broke that link of the fork, and
Oh,
can that happen? I'm not sure. I just want to just check because I wanted to understand how that happened, so it doesn't happen again because it's real
yeah.
pain.
But I did use the option of where you want to send the pull request. I thought that was usually based.
Yeah, but right now it doesn't even show that it's been forked from this repository. It's just like this orphan repository which has not been forked from anything.
Is it?
Yes,
Um,
and I think it also happened to Vikas. So we're just wondering
if you refork probably, and then just do git reset and then create a patch out of that reset. That's
okay. What
probably
we
the way
did
to
right
go.
now is we forked the repository again and we pushed the changes to the newly forked repository and issued a pull request from this. I don't know if
Yeah.
this is going to be a real pain for you when you're merging the code. So don't get mad. If you do, if it's too much of a pain, let us know. We'll try to merge as much as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I was trying to review it, and then where's the
Yeah, it's
button?
happened through all. It's even happened to the mUzima API repo. It doesn't show me the fork anymore, and like I said, it's just not for me. It's even for Vikas. So I was just wondering what could have changed, which kind of broke the fork apart.
Yeah, it's odd.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okie dokie. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everyone.